So this is hot off the press. Apple's sued by shareholders for allegedly overstating AI progress. And if you've listened to any kind of a tech keynote or presentation from Tesla, Apple, Google, Meta, or any other company, you know that the word AI is used probably more than any other word. Every company wants to be seen as at the cutting edge of AI technology to attract more investors and attract more customers. And to that end, some have exaggerated how far along they are in these AI advancements, including, allegedly, according to this lawsuit, Apple. And as a result of this exaggeration and the subsequent fallout from customers feeling like they've been tricked and investors bailing on them, shareholders have filed a class action lawsuit against Apple, the company. NBC starts us off today. Apple sued by shareholders who alleged it overstated AI progress. The complaint covers shareholders who suffered potentially hundreds of billions of dollars of losses when Apple introduced product improvements but kept AI changes modest. Apple was sued on Friday by shareholders in a proposed securities fraud class action lawsuit that accused it of downplaying how long it needed to integrate advanced artificial intelligence into its Siri voice assistant, hurting iPhone sales and its stock price. So basically, the lawsuit suers are alleging that Apple said that they would be farther along than they currently are in their AI integrations of AI into Siri. And basically, they failed to keep their AI promises and timeline, meaning that investors who want to invest in the cutting edge of technology, which right now is AI, they went to other companies to do that, like Google, Nvidia, Microsoft, and so on. Essentially, investors think that Google is doing better, and so they're going to go there. And because they are going there and leaving Apple, pulling their money out of Apple stocks and putting them into Google stocks, that's hurting Apple stock prices. And this is causing these investors to lose money to the tune of hundreds of billions. Again, allegedly, all according to the lawsuit. The complaint covers shareholders who suffered potentially hundreds of billions of dollars in losses in the year ending in June 9th, so a couple of weeks ago, when Apple introduced several features and aesthetic improvements for its products, but kept AI changes modest. So Apple had been promising new AI features and simply had not delivered them, despite the fact that this was their big once a year, this is everything that's coming to Apple in the future type keynote event, and they just didn't announce anything majorly AI related. And most likely this lawsuit had been prepared, and the investors were waiting to see if maybe Apple would keep up with everything that they said they were going to do during their keynote event. And then when they didn't, and instead just announced a weird glass overhaul aesthetic to the whole platform instead of any kind of really new, exciting AI features, they went ahead and filed it. Shareholders led by Eric Tucker said that at its 2024 Worldwide Developers Conference, Apple led them to believe that AI would be a key driver of iPhone devices when it launched Apple Intelligence to make Siri more powerful and user-friendly. But they said the Cupertino, California-based company lacked a functional prototype of its AI-based Siri features and could not reasonably believe the features would ever be ready for the iPhone 16s. Shareholders said the truth began to emerge on March 7th when Apple delayed some Siri upgrades to 2026 and continued through this year's Worldwide Developer Conference on June 9th when Apple's assessment of its AI product disappointed analysts. Apple shares have lost nearly 1/4 of their value since their December 26th, 2024 record high, wiping out approximately $900 billion of market value. So Apple was giving the impression that they were keeping up with other huge tech companies in this AI arms race that we're currently going through. And they had also led shareholders to believe that they would have some big AI announcements, with these announcements specifically pertaining to all the things that this new AI-powered Siri would be able to do with the new iPhone 16 or maybe 16s. And then Apple announced essentially nothing, despite the fact that this was supposed to be the big boost to show that Apple was still at the cutting edge of technology like they had been in the past. And this is actually a pretty generally held sentiment, that Apple is behind in this AI arms race, with Tom's Guide specifically putting out several articles about this, and we're going to read a section of this, but right before we do, if you like this kind of video and deep dives into business and finance news, I put out videos 1 to 2 times a week, and I'd love a subscription. So Tom's Guide has put out this article called I Want to Be Excited About Apple Intelligence, but basically Apple's not keeping up. And this is what he calls it. Apple Intelligence is a work in progress, which is not a great place to be when everyone else has kind of already figured it out. So far, it feels as though the iPhone 16 is more of a promise of future wonders, rather than Apple actually delivering them out the door. The main focus of the iPhone 16 marketing seems to be that these phones are built for Apple Intelligence, and Apple seems to be doing a lot to try and hype up the software suite in the run-up Apple Intelligence official public launch. But we have no idea when that public launch will be exactly. The iOS 18.1 public beta arrived earlier this month, giving non-developers the chance to try Apple's AI for the very first time. But the closest that we've got to an official non-beta release window is October, which could mean as soon as Monday or as late as Halloween. This article was put out last year. Even then, Apple has made it clear that some features won't be available right away and will be coming over to the next year, as in the next 12 months, not before the end of 2024, in case there's any confusion on that front. And remember, they had kind of insinuated that these features will be coming sometime in 2024. Genmoji is a good example of a feature that still isn't available, even in the iOS 18.1 beta. Despite being highlighted during the WWDC 2024, Glow Time, and Apple's iPhone 16 commercials, there is no way to create your own custom emojis in the Messenger app. Apparently, this feature won't be arriving until the launch of iOS 18.2 at the earliest, which is hardly ideal. The same is true for Image Playground's generative image generation, which is a terrible name, and ChatGPT integration. The latter feature is arguably the most important part of Apple Intelligence, since it gives iPhone users the ability to use some kind of AI chatbot to help them with problems or queries, and the ability to analyze images and hold these conversations in real time. Really, the promised upgrades to Siri are the only thing more crucial than ChatGPT, and while we've had some conversational upgrades in iOS 18.1 beta, we aren't expecting to see more advanced features until iOS 18.4. According to Bloomberg's Mark Gundman, features like on-screen awareness, personal text, and deeper in-app controls won't be arriving for Siri until sometime in spring of 2025. And I believe spring of 2025 has come and gone as of the time of recording this video, and we still haven't seen a lot of these features. The author of this article is saying, look, there are all these Apple Intelligence features that we have been told are coming, and it's all just one trust me bro about Apple Intelligence. But we've been trusting bro for years now, waiting for these Apple Intelligence updates, and we're just left with nothing. And an excellent example of this is this Bella Ramsey iPhone 16 Pro Apple Intelligence commercial that was released maybe 6 months to a year ago. Yeah, 8 months ago. And you may have seen this running. I don't know if it ran during the Super Bowl, but it was like...
Siri, what's the name of the guy I had a meeting with a couple of months ago at Cafe Grinnell?
You met Zach Wingate at Cafe Grinnell.
Hey!
Zach!
Oh, wow, I didn't think you'd remember me.
Yeah, of course. As soon as I saw you, I'm like, it's Zach. Nobody looks like Zach.
More personal Siri. That's the huge pitch here. But if you're an Apple user and you've noticed that you don't have this feature and you're kind of wondering why it is or why you aren't able to use it, that's because it doesn't exist. Apple pulled an ad for iPhone 16 that depicted a more personal Siri, following the company's admission last week that it is delaying some of the Apple Intelligence Siri features that it originally expected to be released on iOS 18. They ran not one, not two, but 3 ads for this more personal Siri Apple Intelligence feature that simply does not exist. And the Apple Intelligence that does exist has been going viral recently for how bad it looks, with videos like this, where people will compare the iPhone's Magic Eraser or object removal tool to Google's. And here's a great example of that.
Quick comparison. So the first thing I wanted to test was the face covering one, which you've probably already seen. I had to highlight the whole hand on my iPhone and it still didn't really get it right. But with the S25 Ultra, I decided to roughly kind of sketch out my hand and it kind of did the rest. What it generated is not exactly what I look like, but it's a lot better than what the iPhone generated. And the next photo I had...
And the comparison here is not even close. iPhones, look at this. This looks terrible. And then Google Pixel, even though not Google Pixel, but the Samsung phone, same thing, Google AI, it doesn't get exactly what it looks like, but it manages to fill it in a really convincing way. So people are seeing Google being miles ahead of Apple in AI developments. And then additionally to that, they're seeing all of these promises that Apple is saying, oh no, we're going to have this and we're going to have these features, but they're either promises or if they are released, they're either broken or underwhelming entirely. And so those people, the investors and the customers, are bailing. Specifically, they're bailing to other tech companies, which is causing Apple's stock to tank and their shareholders to decide that they've had enough, get mad, and specifically, they're getting mad enough to sue. And I think they might actually have this rightfully so. If you look at Apple stock over the last 6 months, it is down 21.26%. That is pretty significant. But if we look at the same 6-month period, we can see that Microsoft is up almost 10%. That's pretty good. Nvidia is up 3%. That's not amazing, but that's positive at least. In fact, only of the big tech companies that are rivaling Apple, only Google over the last 6 months is down, and they're down by 14.42%, which, yes, is a decrease, but it's way less of a decrease than Apple is. Apple is disproportionately doing far, far worse than these other tech companies in the AI race, despite the fact that they keep promising that they're going to catch up. Now, to be clear, Apple has never exactly been on the cutting edge of technology. Rather, their strategy is to follow right behind the cutting edge of technology and then take whatever the technology is and then integrate it so seamlessly into their own environment and onto their own platform that it's really simple and intuitive for their users to figure out. But then AI comes along and all the advanced advancements and the productivity that it's promising, and Apple is just absolutely dropping the ball. And not only are they dropping the ball, they are dropping the ball while simultaneously claiming that they are not dropping the ball. And that's causing people to lose faith in the company and the company's abilities to actually create these AI advancements that they keep saying that they're going to. And the result of that loss of faith is these investors bail. And the investors bailing causes the shareholders that hold on to their stock, diamond hands, it's causing them to lose money. And in this case, it's causing them to lose enough money to sue over Apple, allegedly saying that they have all of these things that they simply do not have. Thanks for watching.